Imagine a family where deeply held faith meets just unimaginable suffering. And this encounter leads them on this extraordinary journey, one that actually crosses spiritual traditions. This isn't just a story, really. It's a profound, deep dive into life, death, and maybe those unseen forces that, quietly shape our destinies. Today, we're unpacking a truly remarkable case study. And this source, it gives us this really intimate window into one family's experiences. We're talking severe illness, complex relationships, and a pretty surprising spiritual awakening. Our mission for this deep dive is to pull out the most important nuggets of knowledge, those key insights. We want to illuminate things like the universal laws of karma, the tangible power of good deeds, and even what happens in the afterlife, all through the incredible lens of their personal journey.
Yeah, and what's really compelling here, I think, is that our main source isn't some academic text. It's a detailed case study recording. So you get these direct personal accounts, and then right alongside them, these deep karmic explanations for what happened.
Ah, okay, so it connects the dots directly.
Exactly. It gives us this granular kind of real-world perspective on how these profound spiritual principles are believed to play out. You get insights you just wouldn't find in a standard textbook. It's a very human look at these universal laws.
Okay, let's dive in then. Let's start with the heart of the story.
Huh.
The mother's extraordinary journey. So the scene opens in Bonsang Arun, a village in Prachuap Khon, Thailand. And it's a place where Christianity is, well, the main faith.
Right.
The family we're focusing on was deeply rooted in this tradition. The mother especially was described as like the epitome of devoutness. She attended church every Sunday without fail, observed all the sacraments.
Lived a genuinely good life by all accounts.
Totally. Kindness, charity, unwavering integrity. The source even mentioned she meticulously avoided lying or any kind of foul language.
And it's really crucial to kind of register this initial picture. You have this woman living what seems like a morally upright, deeply faithful Christian life. But as we're about to see, she was heading towards immense personal suffering.
Yeah.
And this immediately brings up a huge question, doesn't it? How do you reconcile that deep faith and, all those good deeds with life's most crushing hardships?
That's the paradox, right?
Exactly. And this case study, looking through the lens of karma, offers a really fascinating perspective on that very paradox.
It certainly does, because her life, despite her devotion, it wasn't easy at all. First off, her marriage sounds like it was really difficult. Her husband had numerous affairs, apparently, which led to constant arguments and, well, eventually they separated.
That's tough enough on its own.
Right. But then came an even more devastating blow. She was diagnosed with aggressive cervical cancer. And the way the narrative describes her final months, it's just harrowing.
Yeah, the details are quite vivid.
Constant, agonizing pain. Blood in her urine, severe bleeding that needed frequent, urgent gauze changes. She suffered convulsions, was crying out desperately. The suffering sounds almost unbearable. To the point where the doctors had actually told the family to prepare for her passing. They basically said she wouldn't survive.
Flat out told them she wouldn't make it. Can you imagine hearing that?
No. It's that level of desperation, feeling utterly helpless.
Which I think makes what happens next in this story all the more, well, profoundly intriguing.
Yes, and then the story takes this turn that really makes you stop and think. This is where it gets absolutely remarkable. Her daughter, seeing her mother declining like this in so much agony, she decided to do something. Now remember, her mother had this lifelong, strict Christian upbringing. The whole family did for generations.
Right, that's her entire frame of reference.
Exactly. But the daughter was guided by someone called a kalyanamit, which translates roughly as a spiritual friend. And this friend advised her to make a really significant offering, sponsoring the creation of 300,000 Buddha images.
Wow, 300,000. That's a massive act of merit-making.
Huge. It's referred to in this tradition sometimes as 300,000 playam, signifying this, like abundant spiritual joy and immense good karma. So the daughter, with obviously huge emotional effort, managed to get money into an envelope for her mother to offer, with pure intention, even while her mother was literally crying out in pain.
Just picture that scene.
I know. And imagine the challenge of trying to explain these, maybe abstract Buddhist ideas of merit to your devout Christian mother who's on her deathbed, suffering terribly.
It's an extraordinary act of faith and love from the daughter, really stepping outside the box. And that act itself performed right in the middle of such intense suffering, and especially crossing those deeply ingrained religious lines. That's profoundly significant. The source really emphasizes it was done with genuine intention, this pure hope from the daughter, just to ease her mother's pain, even if it meant going beyond her mother's known beliefs.
It suggests the intention was key.
Absolutely. The essence of the good deed, the pure motive, seems paramount here.
And the immediate outcome. It's just astonishing. The moment her mother completed this act of merit, the source says she immediately stopped crying.
Instantly.
Instantly. Her condition visibly improved. It defied all expectations, completely surprising her doctors. They then, almost going against their earlier judgment, allowed more radiation treatments, though they still only gave her about 3 months.
Still a grim prognosis, but a definite shift.
A huge shift. This unexpected dramatic turnaround was really seen as a miracle by the daughter and everyone around them.
And this is such a critical point in the case study, isn't it? It offers this profound glimpse into how karma is seen to work in this tradition. It depicts a very direct cause and effect, a pure, intentional act of merit having an immediate, tangible impact.
Not just spiritual, but physical.
Exactly. It's presented as a force that can shift not just your spiritual path, but maybe even physical reality itself.
Yeah.
It really challenges our usual understanding of healing and prognosis. It's like the merit could, quite literally, buy her more time.
That's a really powerful idea.
Hmm.
But the daughter didn't just stop there, did she?
No, she kept going.
Recognizing this shift, she very carefully created what the source calls a meritorious environment around her mother. She installed a Dhammakaya satellite dish, which is like a dedicated spiritual TV channel from this particular Buddhist school, showing teachings and case studies about karma.
So bringing the teachings right into the home.
Yeah, and what's truly remarkable is that her mother, this lifelong devout Christian, didn't just tolerate it. She apparently enjoyed watching these shows.
Really? After her strict upbringing?
Yeah, and she even started teaching her own grandchildren about the law of karma. She'd say things like, karma is real, don't do bad things. This wasn't just, passive acceptance. It sounds like a deep personal shift in her understanding.
That really highlights the power of finding an understanding that resonates, doesn't it? How it can transform your mental and spiritual state. Despite her lifelong faith, the practical explanations of karma, this idea that actions have consequences, clearly struck a chord.
It gave her a framework.
Yes, a sense of agency, maybe purpose, even in those final months. It's a testament, perhaps, to the universality of certain spiritual truths, suggesting they can be recognized and embraced regardless of the religious labels you've held before.
It really is fascinating. Now, when the mother's health did eventually decline again, this time from pulmonary edema, she made another significant act of merit. She sponsored a Buddha image to be placed inside a pagoda, and she personally inscribed her name on it.
Oh, that's very personal.
Yeah, and her daughter observed her mother experiencing deep joy, even shedding tears during this act. And to keep this focus strong, they kept a framed image of a Buddha constantly in her sight. The daughter kept reminding her, remember this image, always. And then there was further merit made by sponsoring a 1,000-year glass pillar, another significant donation. This dedication just continued right up to the end.
And her passing itself is described as remarkably serene, very peaceful. It's noted that nurses were chanting the China Banchan mantra. That's a powerful protective chant in Thai Buddhism, often used for blessings and a peaceful transition. But what's really significant, karmically speaking, is her kati nimit. That's her death vision, the state of mind right at the moment of passing. It was described as bright and clear, not confused or fearful.
And focused on?
Focused entirely on the merit she had made. Those Buddha images, the pillar, the pagoda offering, and the understanding of the law of karma she'd gained from watching that Dhammakaya channel. And as a direct result, the source says she was reborn as a celestial being, a devata.
A heavenly being.
Yes, with a golden palace in what's called Tapatimsa heaven, specifically in phase 3. Now, in this cosmology, phase 3 indicates a higher, more refined level within that heavenly realm. It reflects the purity and the power of the merit she'd accumulated right at the end.
Wow. Okay, so here's a question that I'm sure many listeners are thinking, especially given her lifelong Christian faith. It's this. Even though she was Christian her whole life and presumably never did things like offer food to Buddhist monks, would she still have, food and provisions in the afterlife? It sounds like a practical question, but it has deep implications.
That's a really crucial question, and the source addresses it directly. It offers a profound insight into the nature of merit itself. Merit, these wholesome actions, is described using a specific term, Hamret Thartu. It basically means a complete element or accomplished essence.
Okay.
What that means is that merit inherently manifests divine provisions and sustenance in the afterlife. It's part of its nature. And this manifestation happens irrespective of earthly religious labels or specific rituals like offering food to monks. The positive energy creates its own positive result.
So the good deeds themselves create the heavenly food.
Essentially, yes.
Yeah.
The source is quite explicit. The mother, having now fully understood karma from her experiences and the teachings, is actually considered a Buddhist in the afterlife. And she's experiencing even greater joy and spiritual understanding there than she might have in a previous heavenly realm based on her earlier faith alone.
That's fascinating.
And she apparently expressed profound gratitude to her daughter for guiding her onto this path. She acknowledged that without her daughter's intervention, that leap of faith, she wouldn't have reached such a high state of being.
What a powerful message about the fundamental nature of good deeds, maybe overriding prior religious frameworks, at least in this view.
Exactly. It emphasizes the action and the intention.
What an utterly transformative journey for the mother. Just incredible. But this case study doesn't stop there. It also delves into the fates of her sisters, and their stories present some really stark contrasts.
Yes, the paths diverge quite dramatically.
Let's look at the elder sister first, the daughter's aunt. The source mentions she appeared, visually, to both the mother and the second sister before their own deaths. Now, first thought might be, was this just a hallucination, maybe brought on by illness or grief?
The source says no, not a delusion at all. It explains that the aunt, after she passed away, was reborn as a mid-level Brahmadeva.
Okay, what does that mean, a Brahmadeva?
It's a type of celestial being associated with goodness and meditative states, but perhaps still holding on to certain earthly concepts. Her rebirth there was due to her general good deeds during her life, and she visited her relatives, the mother and the other sister, out of a sense of concern and attachment. She was content in her heavenly state, but apparently unaware of even higher spiritual realms beyond it.
So, still connected to her family.
Yes. And what's really intriguing is how her earthly beliefs carried over. She lives among other Brahmadevas who share similar theistic beliefs. They're apparently waiting for a savior. And interestingly, she mistakenly believes her heavenly food is divinely bestowed by some external power, rather than seeing it as the direct result of her own past good karma.
So her interpretation of reality is still shaped by her earthly beliefs.
Precisely. It's a fascinating illustration of how deeply ingrained beliefs and, conceptual frameworks can persist even after death, shaping the experience of the afterlife, even when the underlying karmic mechanics might be different according to this teaching.
That really is fascinating, how our personal mythology can continue. Okay, now let's turn to the younger sister. Her path takes a much more tragic turn. She was also Christian, like her mother. But unlike her mother, despite the daughter's persistent efforts, she really struggled to grasp this concept of Buddhist merit. Couldn't connect with it.
Yeah, the understanding just wasn't there for her.
And her life was marked by considerable hardship. The source mentions an abortion specifically, and she eventually became gravely ill with a brain fungus.
It's a very somber part of the story. She collapsed suddenly and died. There's a mention that some people heard a voice saying, "Don't want to go to the hospital," but the source attributes this to her illness, the brain condition, not, say, the mother possessing her or anything supernatural like that.
Okay, just a symptom of the illness.
Right. But what's particularly disturbing is what happened after her death. Her family experienced hauntings, things happening in the house, suggesting a very unrestful spirit.
Oh dear. And the karmic explanation for this and for her fate, it's quite stark, isn't it?
It is indeed very direct. The source explains her afterlife consequences in quite graphic detail, actually. It says she went to Yamaloka, which is depicted as a hell realm in this cosmology, and suffered intensely there.
Why? What was the cause?
Primarily due to the karma from the abortion she had during her life. The suffering described is symbolic, reflecting the act. Her abdomen being repeatedly cut open, filled with hot stones, then sewn shut. Horrific torment.
Goodness.
And her short life overall was attributed to three main karmic factors. First, past karma from killing animals, specifically mentioning pounding their heads. Second, the abortion in her current life. And third, a combination of past infidelity and another abortion in a previous life.
So multiple layers of negative karma ripening.
Exactly. And the case study really stresses how difficult it is to help someone in that situation, mainly because she lacked that fundamental belief in karma while she was alive. But it still advises her surviving relatives to continue making merit and dedicating it to her, as that's seen as the only possible way to potentially alleviate her suffering over time.
It's a very powerful and quite cautionary tale within this whole framework. Really underscores the gravity they place on our actions and intentions, potentially across many lifetimes.
Absolutely. The consequences are portrayed as very real and directly linked to choices made.
Okay, let's pivot now to the daughter. Her spiritual journey is, in many ways, kind of the central thread connecting all of this, isn't it?
It really is. She's the catalyst for much of the change, especially with her mother.
So, her background. She grew up experiencing poverty, attended Christian schools on scholarships, and she even trained for a time to be what the source calls a dark nun, or chimyud, a type of renunciant.
Right, so she was immersed in that world initially.
But apparently she felt this inherent dislike for that very strict life, the way it excluded the external world, and she didn't like the forced church attendance. It didn't resonate with her personally.
And what's fascinating then is her eventual, almost natural pull towards Buddhism. She described finding it reasonable, logical, and importantly, it offered a sense of freedom of choice that maybe she felt was missing before.
So it just felt like a better fit.
It seems so. She eventually joined Wat Phra Dhammakaya back in 2544, which is 2001 in the Western calendar, and became a really diligent practitioner. Now, her current situation, the poverty, limited education, is explained through past karma. The source suggests less merit-making in previous lives contributed to these challenges. But underlying Buddhist merit from those past lives is seen as the reason for her preference for Buddhism in this life. It gently guided her towards this path of spiritual discovery and practice that felt right to her.
So it wasn't just a random decision, but more like a deeply rooted affinity sort of blossoming in this lifetime.
That's the perspective offered, yes. A karmic connection resurfacing.
And the source also talks about the karmic ties within her immediate family now, between her husband, and their young son. Apparently, in past lives, they made merit together. They were part of a supply train group, which sounds intriguing, supporting maybe monks or a temple project.
Yeah, working together for a good cause.
But they also had disagreements, resentments, which led to separation back then. However, that old shared merit acted like a magnet, reuniting them in this life so they could continue their spiritual journey together.
It paints that vivid picture of interconnected destinies, doesn't it?
It really does.
And this is such a consistent theme in many karmic narratives. These connections forged across lifetimes. Sometimes there are unresolved issues, past hurts, but also that shared positive karma pulling people back together.
For another chance, maybe?
Exactly. It suggests our relationships aren't just random encounters, but are deeply interwoven with our past actions, offering opportunities for growth, resolution, and continued shared journey.
And then there's her young son. He's only, what, 1 year and 10 months old at the time of the recording?
Tiny. Yeah.
But he already shows this remarkably strong interest in the Dhammakaya satellite dish, in Buddhism. The source sees this as a sign of significant past merit carrying over.
Absolutely. It suggests a strong karmic imprint, and the source encourages the daughter to really nurture this innate interest, especially as he grows up, through those formative adolescent years. It even mentions he shows strong potential to become a monk later on.
Wow, that's quite specific.
It is. It's a powerful reminder that these inclinations, these karmic seeds, can manifest very early in life. And just to round out the picture, the daughter also has 2 Kalyanamit, those spiritual friends we mentioned earlier. They also share a similar backstory, according to the source.
The same pattern?
The similar pattern, yes. Making merit together with the wider community in the past, separating due to past resentments or issues, and now they've reunited in this life through the ripening of that old merit, continuing their spiritual journey together.
It really paints this rich, intricate tapestry of interconnectedness, doesn't it? How spiritual paths often seem to unfold as a collective journey, not just an individual one.
Very much so. Shared history, shared futures, all tied together by karma.
Okay, so as we start to wrap up this deep dive, gosh, this one family's incredible story, it really highlights the profound and, universal impact of our actions. What's genuinely remarkable to me is seeing how these principles of karma, the power of wholesome actions, are shown to manifest even across different deeply held belief systems, and how they can reshape destinies, apparently even after death. It's quite something, isn't it?
It really is. And what's most striking, I think, is how beautifully it illustrates that the essence of wholesome actions, what this tradition calls merit, provides tangible benefits, real results. And that happens regardless of the initial religious framework someone identifies with.
The label doesn't seem to matter as much as the action and intent.
That's the implication. And it also compellingly shows how an open heart, a willingness to maybe explore or understand universal truths, like the law of karma, can fundamentally transform someone's experience, both in this life, like the mother finding peace, and in the next. Remember, the source even points out that the mother in her heavenly afterlife is now considered a Buddhist because she fully comprehended and embraced these principles.
A complete shift in understanding.
Yes, it's a powerful testament from this perspective to maybe an underlying unity of spiritual truth beneath the surface labels.
So, thinking about all this,
Hmm.
what does it mean for you listening right now? Maybe consider how your own intentions and actions, from the small kindnesses you do every day to your deeper beliefs, how might they be shaping not just your present circumstances, but your future? And perhaps, how might they be influencing the spiritual journeys of those closest to you, your family, your friends? What role do you consciously or maybe unconsciously play in the intricate karmic tapestry of your own life and the lives around you?